All right, so we're continuing about this whole validation thing and just like how
It's a simple thing.
It's so simple. But like you said, it requires you to slow down and to kind of and look at people. Not look through people. Look at people. Feel like, you can't fulfill all of their needs. Because some people, like you said, have baggage and it's shit that you'll never be able to fulfill. But I mean, in the meantime, sometimes it's just the simplest thing. And if you can just give it to them.
Hello.
Yeah. That they'll and it'll make it an easier thing, and it affects how they deal with you. So it just affects how they deal with the world.
Yeah.
And I look at now. We were saying about men, like we didn't realize that men needed it too.
Not as much. Like of course that men like to feel good, but I didn't know it was like something that they also like beam at. They beam,
And see, I think that's the difference between relationships for men that work. Not to say that, I'm talking about a healthy relationship, like a regular guy who doesn't have a lot of issues. Being for their woman to show them affection, to compliment them. Like, I think those are the relationships that have the better chance of working out. As opposed to those women who are always angry, always got an attitude,
and think because they cook and give sex that's
enough, Or they think having an attitude is cute. Because I used to do that, because I was modeling myself after poor examples of women,
right.
and looking at that stereotypical ghetto chick on TV, that's not like if I look at dare I say Bill Cosby and Claire. But if you look at the way she deals, let's talk about the characters, not Bill Cosby, but Cliff and Claire. She dealt with him and she kind of babied him a little bit, but not like a baby, with the whole, put your head in my lap and you're so cute. And the way they interact with each other. And what I loved about the show is she babied him, but she wasn't babying, treating him like a baby, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
and I think that adds to the appeal of the relationship, and you need that back and forth. There comes a time when a man does need to put his head in your lap, as opposed to you always leaning on him. And and just in compliment. Oh, you look cute. Oh, you look good. Or I see that it's working what you're doing in the gym. Or acknowledging the efforts he's making and the sacrifices he's making for you, for your family and stuff like that. Because men don't get flowers, they don't get perfume. They get celebrated on Christmas, their birthday, Father's Day. But then even then, it's kind of men are so, no, don't worry about me. I don't need nothing big. We don't need to go out to dinner. They're so, a lot of men are just kind of don't make a big deal over me.
Yeah, and they don't celebrate birthdays.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that they don't really.
But women live for that shit. So, what you have to make your man feel like, he's what's the word? Damn. Loved, appreciated. Yeah, appreciated. Because if you don't, and I hate to say it, because I hate when people say that, but real talk, if you don't, somebody else will.
I had no problems doing that, maybe because my mom always, made my father feel good or whatever. I had no problems with that. I don't know what my problem is. I know I have one. I'm sure I have my flaws in some way. But I didn't have a problem with complimenting or making a man feel like he's sexy and stuff like that. But at the same time, too, I knew, depending on, there's some guys I didn't do it for more than other guys.
Yeah.
I think I did it more for Kevin because he was so laid back and not, always in the mirror. Yeah. My boyfriend, Corey, not so much because he thought he looked good anyway.
See, that's the thing. And that's so funny you should say that. Because I felt like
I did that less.
Yeah, I have a history of dating men with inflated egos. Yes, and I guess that says something about me. But I look back now and I look at my track record, they all were kind of full of themselves. So maybe something about a confident man attracted me. And I'm not saying, but there's a difference between confidence and cockiness. And I kind of attracted cockiness for whatever reason. But I would, if I felt like you felt that you were so all about yourself, or I felt like everywhere you went, you was getting compliments in the streets, I felt like you don't need to hear it from me because you hear it from everybody else.
Because sometimes
I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon.
About themselves before I could say it anyway.
Oh, yeah. Or that shit.
So I was just like, we're done.
Yeah. You don't need me.
You telling me you look good.
Yeah. You don't need me because you already know that you're the shit. See, that's the turn off. And in turn, I would be like, I ain't saying nothing then because,
I did that less.
Yeah. But that wasn't smart because,
Yeah, they still need to hear from you. But
yeah.
I took it more for granted because it's like you're feeling your own ego, so I don't really, less work for me.
Yeah, that's the sad part. And it's like I have to wonder too, like if I had done that, would they have been as braggadocious, if that's a word, if I had? They
probably were doing it because they wanted you to kind of make a comment on it too.
Yeah.
Some people are like that. Because we all communicate differently.
That's true.
So maybe that's their way of communicating, kind of wanting validation, and we just didn't see it that way.
Yeah.
Because I think at the core of those guys, well, my exes, they were more, the ones that were more in the mirror and all like shiny haired and brush, had a brush in hand, so to speak. They were more insecure.
Yes.
So not that Kevin dressed well and he also put himself together when he wanted to, but he wasn't always doing they do the face with the facial hair and the eyebrow, the
grooming.
I don't recall him ever doing that,
Well, see,
but of course, obviously, he takes pride in the way he looks. Obviously.
See, I think confidence whispers; it doesn't shout. It's one of those things where if you're true confidence whispers. If you're true, you exude it. You see it. You don't have to say much. That's kind of like how I feel about George Clooney's wife. Yeah. Like she seems comfortable in her own skin. She's not, she knows she's not a beauty queen, but she's beautiful. And I think that's what makes her beautiful is like her inner light or whatever it is. Because there are women who are on the surface beautiful, but you can tell that there's nothing inside. The same thing with men. So, yeah, I think it's definitely about confidence. Like to me, I would take the opposite. If the less you, I guess, poked up your feathers, the more I would compliment you. Yeah. But if you're doing all this work, if you constantly, strutting and profiling, then I'm like, what do I need to say? And I don't know if I contributed to that or if that was just the best method or what, or maybe we just weren't well matched for each other. But I just know learning from that, moving forward, well, I know this, I'll never be with a man like that again.
Me neither. I was going to say that wasn't the man for me, but I think, we didn't help the situation, but it's harder to kind of aid in that kind of validation when someone is so sure of themselves to the point where it's so convincing that you think, even though you know in hindsight that it's just some level of insecurity why they have to say it themselves, it's hard to validate that because you're saying it so much. Then there's no need for nobody else to say it. It's almost like I'd be saying it in vain.
Yeah. Or I'm just another chick. I'm just on the bandwagon telling you how fly you are.
Right.
It's like that. I hate, and that's the thing that turns me off, I guess. And that's maybe why people don't give compliments if they feel like somebody's fishing for it.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to say it because you just, you want me to say this so badly. And it's like, just stop. Yeah. Just let me do it and let it come naturally.
I just don't ever want to be with a man that makes me feel like I'm lucky to be with him.
Oh, yes. That's not going to happen.
And I know women do it all the time, but I don't think it's an attractive quality for a man to do it. I don't think women should play up "you're lucky to be with me" either.
Yeah.
But I don't think men should do it.
It's a less attractive quality for me because you kind of expect women on some level because we lead with our looks. We're kind of programmed that way. Mm-hmm. But with a man,
and we tend to do a lot of taking care of.
Yeah.
Lucky to be with me is not necessarily because I look so good. Yeah. It's probably because I look so good and I'm able to kind of, take care of you as well.
Yeah.
Like most of the time when women are saying that is because they're mothering their children and they're doing a whole bunch of other shit.
Yeah.
That, they're bailing them out of some shit or they're giving them advice on some shit. So the luck comes like all around.
Yeah.
When a man says it, most of the time it's always because I look so good or I can get any woman I want.
Yeah.
And I chose you.
Yeah, that whole you special, you know, appreciate that
I don't settle down just with anybody.
I gave you a shot.
Yeah, that to me, that's where it's most of the time it stems from most men.
But isn't it a beautiful thing that you get to this point where you see all of this? And, you know, because some people our age and older still don't see it and still continue to make those mistakes. Yeah, like the memo, I got the memo, and it's like it really, and not to say that I don't have a lot more to learn, and I look forward to it, but like we were saying, these last, late 30s, a lot of things come to light and just become so clear overnight almost. It's like I'm having an epiphany a month, really.
Yeah.
And just
it's crazy. It's crazy how fast
it does.
You catch up to yourself, or you catch up in something.
Yeah, you just wake up and you get it, and you're like, wow, like how simple is that? Or something you may have heard before, but it never really resonated, and in one day, excuse me, it makes sense.
You let go of some shit that you were worried about for so long, and you're like, that doesn't really matter anymore, and this is why. Like, it really doesn't. It's not. You're not saying it doesn't matter because it's a good thing to say. You're saying it doesn't matter because it really doesn't matter. Because it doesn't matter,
or you made a choice for it not to matter.
I've heard people say that, but I just never got it until, I got to it. And like, yeah, that doesn't matter. And that doesn't matter. And, it's a very, very...
It's freeing.
Mm-hmm.
It really is freeing. It's one of those things that just kind of takes the pressure off. You don't have to figure everything out. You don't have to have all the answers. You kind of can just take day by day. I mean, I'm all for planning and everything. Kind of like we were talking about surrendering.
Yeah.
To what is going to be. And what I do too, I realize lately is like if I start to feel myself getting stressed out about a situation or fearful, and fear is just basically the unknown. You're fearful because you don't know what to expect. If you knew what to expect, you probably wouldn't be scared.
Right.
So when I know that I'm fearful,
your body in your mind creates all these scenarios that will never probably come into fruition. But
exactly, because you don't have anything, no basis to go off. So what I do is I try to write it down. Like, what am I actually afraid of? And 9 times out of 10, what I think I'm afraid of is really something else.
Right.
It's fear of, and it comes down to like fear of rejection. Fear of I guess not being accepted. Fear of being perceived as X, Y, and Z. I can label it something different, but that's basically what it is. And now that I know what the real fear is, now it's time to attack that and say, well, what's the likelihood of this? And if that happens, what's the worst thing that's going to happen?
Are you going to die? Is this going to happen?
Yeah. It's like simple. Like some people say, oh, I don't want to go on online dating. No, it's not for me. It's not for me. And then they try it, and then they all like jittery about it. And then you have to be like, well, what are you afraid of? Well, what if I meet a crazy guy? What if this? What if that? And they're like, what really is coming down to is really a lot of it's fear of rejection. I'm going to put myself out there, and what if somebody doesn't reciprocate that? And then you break it down. Well, what happens if you put yourself out there and they don't like you the same? And then you're like, nothing. They just don't like me.
Yeah. And
how bad is that?
I'll mope for a minute and I'll move on.
Yeah.
And I always do.
And you have to say, is your fear of the worst case scenario, does it outweigh your the happiness you'll feel at the best case scenario? So if the best case scenario is I can meet my husband, I can meet the love of my life, am I willing to deal with a couple of it didn't work out in order to get that? I mean, it can be phrased better than that. I didn't really say it well.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But, it's like you have to want that more than you fear the bad stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's just that it's true. You have to push through it. Rejection just sets you back in a way because in your head about a lot of things when you shouldn't be. Yeah. Because we blame ourselves a lot for, when we get rejected, how could I have done this? Yeah. Or maybe we didn't like this because of this. And we put the blame on ourselves when sometimes the person is, it could be a million reasons why the person isn't interested. It could be all the reasons that you said, that you imagined, or it could be something else going on in their life that they're not ready for, or,
Or that could be God saving you from something you shouldn't have been involved in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's simple shit. Like, try to think, like, if I'm driving somewhere and I miss a light or I'm running late or something happens and it kind of throws me off schedule and I get pissed off, I try to say, you know what? I could have been driving into an accident and this delayed me. It stopped me from having that accident.
Yep.
So
it's true. Those little moment-to-moment things are steering you, whether we know or not, out of or into something.
Exactly.
It could also be the opposite, that I'm waiting at this light because maybe at this particular time when I get where I'm getting, I'm going to meet whoever it is I'm supposed to meet, whether it's a relationship, a job, a new friend, whatever it is, that in that time, that if I ran that light or took that light, would have missed by that minute. But now that I'm late, this now is unfolding. This reality is unfolding. And there's a lot of different instances that things not working out are for the better.
Yeah. And about, like we were talking last time about closed doors, and some doors have to close in order for you to find the doors that are open, the doors you're supposed to walk through. All of that, So, that's just what I do to help me get through and past those moments. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if I would have had an accident. I don't know if I will meet somebody because of this. You know what I'm saying? But it's just because at the end of the day, the fact that you missed the light, is it going to matter next week that you missed that light?
Right.
Probably not.
Right. That's true.
And that's how
rejection is
it's scary.
Yeah, it's such a heady thing. And as much as I think we should push through it. I think we should acknowledge and push through it. But it is very daunting for things to not go the way we want it to go.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all running from. That's why we don't say the things we're supposed to say or do the things we're supposed to do. Because on the other end of it, there's a possibility that it won't go the way we want it to go.
Yeah. And we think that the rejection is of us personally.
Right. Absolutely.
And it's like, when it comes to relationships, I guess that holds more weight. Because
you have no other evidence.
Yeah.
You have no other evidence to hold it to. Again, like saying it could be that person has a million other their own reasons. But because we don't know that, we have to go somewhere with it.
Yeah.
So we have to be in our heads about, well, maybe it's a shirt I wore. Maybe it's, whatever it is that, maybe something I said,
Yeah.
We don't have to, but we do. The mind is just a racy thing.
Mm-hmm.
And to turn it off is kind of hard. You just got to fight it at every turn. When you do get rejected or when things don't work out the way you want it, you have to fight the urge to make up the excuses or to worry about why it didn't work out.
Yeah.
Every time something creeps up in my mind about something that didn't work out, I try to stop myself and go, that happened 3 months ago. Why do you even care?
Yeah.
What that person said to you or what that didn't work out. It's not, you're here now.
Mm-hmm.
But the mind will bring it back up again.
Oh, easily.
Sure it does.
Especially if you have nothing else to distract your mind with.
You just have to always stop yourself and go, what does it matter? My whole thing is always, what does it matter now?
Yeah.
Like, every so often I'm like, that fucking guy. And I stop myself from going further and be like, what does it even matter?
Yeah.
Like, I'm here now. It's 3 months past, 6 months past, whatever it is. It's amazing. But what I do is I don't talk about it. Mm. When you don't talk about it to other people, you don't give that energy.
You don't give it life, yes.
But I noticed how I sabotage myself is when I talk about it and then somebody got to follow up on whatever.
Yeah. You give it life.
It brings it all back up again.
Exactly.
And then you're talking about why it didn't work. And then it's, you know what I mean? But if I never say anything about it,
it's almost like it doesn't exist. If you don't
it's
speak
easier
it,
to let go of it.
you just
but if you keep talking about it, the more people you tell them, the more you have to relive it.
That's why I don't tell people, like, if I'm going for a job interview or if I'm doing something, I'm trying some new shit, I don't really say, unless, I may say to a select few, but because I don't want the follow-ups or and then people will get in your head. And even people who care about you. I had an instance recently.
Because they want to figure it out with you. They love you. They want to get to the bottom of it just like you want to get to the bottom of it. But it serves you and them no purpose at all. So,
And people can take you from being, you could be fine 1 minute, steady, and then they'll say some shit, and they throw you off kilter, and you're like, now you're in it. Now you're thinking about it. Now you're questioning shit. Like,
now I had 3 days thinking about it when I wasn't thinking about it a month ago.
Mm-hmm. Like, case in point, I just started this new job, and I had a friend who actually had told me, like, kind of hit me to the opportunity. And when I told him, what happened, he was like, well, they want you to do this, and they want you to do that, and that seems like a lot of work, and why is it got to be this, and maybe you should, I'm already invested. I'm already down this path. Whether or not
now you take the steps, you're taking out the steps that I need to do now?
Yeah, and now you're having me question the whole process. Maybe I am doing too much. Maybe they do have me jumping through hoops when I was comfortable with it until
but you know
said
why
it.
That person, from their perspective, they want to always cut short. They want a short road to everything.
Yeah, well, you know who the person is, so yeah.
I know. Yeah. Consider the source.
Yes.
Great person and all. I know the person you talk about. Yes. Great person. But the way they operate is, I don't want to have to start from zero. Let me figure out how to skip steps 1 through 5 and go 5 through 10.
Well, see, that's when I had to stop and think about that. And because I know you say that all the time, I was like, that's where he's coming from, because he's coming from a world where
operates on what's the fastest way I can get to where I need to go.
Yeah, where he's skipping, steps, and I'm like, okay, that's how you operate, so I got to leave that.
Took somebody to the side and would have been like, yo, my man. I don't have to do 2 and 3. Come on. So I would have hooked him up to 2 and 5, step 5, and he'd have been in there.
Yeah, you're
would
right.
He have missed out on some valuable things? Maybe. And would he have probably have to catch up at once he got to 10? Maybe, because he didn't do 1 through 5.
Yeah.
But then he'll figure that out when he gets to 10.
Yeah.
And some people operate that way.
You're right.
It makes his life harder.
You're right.
And it makes people's life harder, but they don't realize it because it's a mode that they're set on all the time. Mm-hmm. So they see everything through those lenses.
Yeah. Lens is a huge thing. It's all perspective. Yeah.
That's why I hold back a lot of saying things to certain people, because I'm like, what lens are they working out of? Nah, I'm not going to tell you. Yeah. Because the lens, I'm not trying to look through your lens, because if I tell you that, you're going to have me look through your lens.
Girl.
And it will sound so plausible, like, yeah, I'm stupid. Why do I got to do this?
Yes.
Why am I doing all that?
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta shut, some people, even though they mean you well, you have to stop and kind of look at it from their perspective. Let's stop right here, though, because I know we're going on long, but I kind of want to explore this thing about perspective a little bit more, because it's so interesting.